All right, guys, we're going to start off here on number 2. So on this one, we're just going to combine like terms. So we're looking for the same variable with the same exponent. So we're going to add together this one right there with that one right there. They have the same variable with the same exponent. I want to do those first because we want this in order. So this is what we do with these is we add the numbers in front. So that's going to be 7, and we keep the variable and exponent the same. All right, so then now I'm going to do the next one will be the squareds. So I got negative 2p squared and then a positive 4p squared. So if I add those together, I get positive 2. But again, the exponent and variable stay the same. And then lastly, we have our negative 8 and positive 6 will make negative 2 right there. So that's it. All right, same idea here on number 4, except that we actually see this negative here. Anytime you have a negative, you need to send that in. And so when you send it in, it changes everything. So that's going to change to +1, +2r, and then -7r cubed. And so now we need to do the same idea here. So I'm going to get the third powers together. So I got positive 2, negative 7 will make negative 5r to the third. And then I have a 4r squared here. Actually doesn't have anybody to match up with, so I'm just going to keep that the same. I actually have a positive 2r right here. That doesn't have anybody either, so I'm going to keep that by itself as well. And then lastly, we have a positive 1 and another positive 1, and so that makes a positive 2. So there's my answer. All right, next up, number 6. So on this one, we want to state the degree. So the degree is always the greatest exponent. And so I see here the degree would be 3, since that's the biggest exponent right there. And then I'm actually going to do the leading coefficient next. Let me color code this. So leading coefficient is actually the number in front of the biggest exponent. So in this case, it's that negative 4 there. And so that's definitely connected to the degree. And then lastly, I see we have 2 terms here. So the monomial, binomial, trinomial, we have 2 terms, and so that's a binomial. All right, number 8 is a little bit out of order here, but I see that this is the biggest exponent, so that means my degree is 2. And then the number in front of that exponent is actually a negative 9, so that's a negative 9. And then I see that there are 3 terms, so that is a trinomial. All right, again, number 10 is out of order, so I see the biggest exponent there is a 3, so it's degree 3. And then the number in front of that is our leading coefficient, so that would be negative 3. And then we have 3 terms again, so this is a trinomial. All right, next up, number 12. So this one actually has no exponent, so whenever it has no exponent, it's degree of 0, because there's really 0 exponents. The leading coefficient would be negative 10, since negative 10 is kind of the only number there. And then this is definitely a monomial. All right, here we have some more subtraction, so we need to make sure we distribute this negative. So it's going to become negative 7, negative 3p to the third, positive 2p to the fourth, and then positive p. So then this is all gone. And now we'll combine like terms. So first off, p to the fourth. I see I have plus 2p to the fourth. And I didn't have anything to combine that with. Next up, we have negative 3p to the third, negative 8p to the third makes negative 11p to the third. And then do I have a p squared here? I do not. So then I got my regular p. So I got positive p, negative 3p makes negative 2p. And then lastly, I got my numbers. So I have positive 2 and negative 7 makes negative 5. All right, number 16, same idea. So I want to distribute, I want to distribute that negative in there. So it's going to make negative 7r minus 4 if you send it in. And then we'll combine like terms. Looks like 8r to the third has nothing to combine with. And then also 2r squared has nothing to combine with. But I can combine a positive 6r and a negative 7r and make negative 1r. And then a negative 4 and a positive 5 make positive 1. All right, next up here, we want to simplify these. So I always do outside times outside goes outside. inside times inside goes inside, but I never actually multiply them. I just keep them separate because I'm going to have to break them down anyway. So that's 2 and 6. And actually, I noticed that we have twins right here, so I'm just going to stop right there. You could break them down more, but if you see them quicker, you can actually stop. So the twins are going to go outside. Now, this loner 2 is going to stay in the house, and then the 6 will go outside. But since we already had the 8 there, it's got to be negative 8 times 6. So it's actually going to be negative 48 times the square root of 2. All right, same idea for number 20. So we have negative 21. Oops. Negative 21 on the outside for 7 times 3, or negative 7 times 3. On the inside, I'm going to do 30 times 42. And then I'm actually going to write that as k to the 5th because we have multiplying k's there. We add their exponents, so it's k to the 5th. So now I'm going to break these down. So this will be 3 and 10, which is 2 and 5. And then this one will be 6 and 7, which would be 2 and 3. And then my k's, I have just 5 of those, so I like to list them out like this. All right, so now I'm going to group them together. So I'm looking for twins here. So I can group together the twin 3s there, and then the twin 2s here. So they're going to go outside. I have a loner 5. I'll do that in a different color here. Loner 5 and loner 7. I also have twin k's and then twin k's, and then a loner k right there. All right, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to have and that loner k right there, we're going to have all our loners in the house. So that's going to be 7 times 5 times k. And then our twins go outside, but they kind of combine here. So I actually already had the negative 21. And then I have a 3. And then I have a 2. And then I have 2 k's multiplying. So to simplify this, I'll have to do, I'm actually just going to do negative 21 times 6. So that's 126, so negative 126, this will be k squared, and inside here I got 35k. All right, next up here we need to get the radical out of the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by rad 3 over rad 3. So this gives me 3 rad 6 over 4 times a regular 3 now. And the reason that is rad 3 times rad 3 is rad 9, and that's just a regular 3. So that's why I'm just putting a 3 there. And so that gives me 3 rad 6 over 12, but I need to reduce this by dividing the top and the bottom by 3. Since they're both outside, I can just reduce it by a fraction, so that would be rad 6 on top and then 4 on bottom. All right, next up on these ones, I actually see that I can reduce it before I start. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Since they're both inside, I can reduce it. So this will be rad 1 over rad 3. And that's actually just 1 over rad 3. So now I need to multiply by rad 3 over rad 3 to rationalize the denominator. So that's rad 3 over a regular 3. All right, next up I got number 26 here. So for this one, I got to send the 4 in to the bottom since that's where the parentheses are. I need to remember that that 2 is really for the first power. So these all multiply down here. So I got x to the negative 16th, y to the negative 20th, 2 to the 4th, x to the negative 4, y to the negative 16. I'm going to keep these guys the same. Next thing I like to do is move all my negative exponents. So if you have a negative exponent, you get moved. When you do that, it becomes positive. So this one, I'm going to move to the top and become positive. Same thing for this one. The 2 to the 4th power is going to stay on bottom because it already has a positive exponent. But the x to the 4th and y to the 16th, I'm also going to move to the top. All right, looks like we don't have any battling. Actually, you could do this as we have a battle of the 2's. And so since they have the same base, I can subtract the exponents and then it goes on bottom because the bottom had more. So it's 2 to the 3rd on bottom. My exponents up here I need to add together. So I have 6 on the x, 16, and 4. And so I add those all up. So I would actually kind of add them backwards. So 4 plus 16 is 20, and then that makes 26. And then next up with the y's, I have 6, I have 20, and I have 16. So 36 plus 6 is 42. And then the last thing I would do is just evaluate 2 to the 3rd power as 2 times 2 times 2. And so that is 8 on bottom with that top staying the same there.